Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Liam, and I've got an interesting one for you today. So, I um, I posted a picture on my Instagram today that basically said it is quite often that people who suffer from chronic diseases will know more about them than their doctors. And this is, I don't think it's really more clear than, especially in the world of tinnitus. Sure, maybe a couple of other chronic diseases, for sure. But of course, we're talking about tinnitus here, and the rate in which people are developing tinnitus, especially in this year, is unbelievable. Um, and people need to understand that, you know, doctors, they spend what, 12 years more if they're going to be a specialist, even more if they're going to be an anesthetist. But if they're going to be a general practitioner or an otolaryngologist, it's a long time. And you got to remember, guys, an expert, what's the phrase? An expert in many trades is a master at none. Is a master of none. So what that means is ENTs don't just handle tinnitus. They handle a plethora of other things. They do grommets. They do all different types of surgeries. You name it, they know a little bit about everything. But they don't know a whole deal about any single one thing. And also, their education does not involve them critically thinking. Their education involves an indoctrination process in which they are basically told not to think and instead to do, act, and sell. Also, their bedside manner needs some work. Anyway, so it's just one thing to think about. But underneath that, someone commented, you can go check it out now. Someone said there was a situation in which he said one of his friends, this woman, was in a toxic relationship with a man. I don't know if the man was abusive or whatever, but it was, terrible. And she had very bad tinnitus. And so she decided, you know what, this is dangerous, or it's not good for me, or it is toxic, got to get out. And so she left the man, and after she left, her tinnitus went away. And this is not the first time that I've ever heard of this. Now, there's obviously more factors to this than just stress as well, because what's stress going to do? Stress is going to affect your sleep. Stress can actually affect your digestion. Stress can affect neurotransmitters, which your ears need to function. Whole bunch of different things. So when someone says stress gets rid of tinnitus, well, yes, but it has a trickle-down effect to literally every other part of your body, which is true. And that's incredible. And it's not the first time I've ever heard this. I have another story. I've got many stories like this. There was a gentleman who contacted me and he said, Liam, I've done everything in your course, and I've done it for like a year, and my tinnitus is 2 out of 10, and I just can't seem to get that last little 2. And, we spoke a little bit about, this was years ago now, we spoke a little bit about it, and we sort of, he had, I said, what do you think it could be? And he says, oh, I don't know, but my girlfriend isn't supporting me. And it turned out that he was Christian, I think, and his girlfriend was Muslim. And her girlfriend's parents were Muslim, and they kept pressuring him to convert. Like, you got to convert. If you're going to be with my daughter, you got to convert. And that's pretty fucking disgusting, I think. Anyway, but that's my opinion. Whatever religion you want to be, I don't give a shit. Anyway, so they kept doing that, and the girlfriend kept pressuring him. You got to convert before we get married, or whatever. And so he just did the right thing and just broke up with her, because don't compromise on your values. And he believed in his religion, and so he did the right thing. And he broke up with her. His tinnitus went away a week later, because he just got rid of the bullshit in his life. And I've done similar things in my own life. And if you know my story, I'm writing right now the book. It's basically finished, but I'm just editing it because I'm going to make sure it's perfect. And I'm telling the story about how, in order to get silent, I had to pick up everything and just leave. And I left the country and I went to Chiang Mai. And I left behind people I didn't want to leave behind, like my family. But I also left behind people that I did want to leave behind, like some old friends who were, you'd always drink when you see them, and just all this bullshit, and there's Australia I was a bit over. And sometimes you have to make those hard choices. And someone else commented and said, well, what should someone do if they don't have the courage to leave that person? And I'm not a therapist, I'm not a relationship counselor, but I do know a lot of relationship counselors, and they give very bad advice, therapists. And you got to remember, guys, when you ask a therapist for advice, just like if you ask a lawyer for advice or an accountant for advice, they have themselves first. Because if they tell you to do something they know is right, but there's a lot of a risk associated with it, and they mess up or you mess up, they are going to lose their license and all their hard work is done. and they're going to lose their license, lose their job, lose their income, and they got kids to support. So always do what's best for you. And remember that if you ask someone, even friends, you ask a friend for advice on something, a lot of time, sadly, friends don't want to see you succeed. And I've experienced that. I've had friends who fucking hate me now because I live a great fucking life. I like my life. I got a great business. I got a nice life. I live in a beautiful place. I have great friends now. All this stuff. I fucking worked for it. And I have friends who hate me. So I used to ask them for advice and they'd say, no, don't do it. Don't do this. Don't go there. Don't try this. Imagine if I listened to them. They wanted me to stay their friend. So imagine there's a gap, right? And this pertains to tinnitus. And you're up here and you're thinking, and you'll lose a friend or family or whatever, I don't care, if a brother, sister, it doesn't matter, are down here in a loserville, and you're up here trying to win. Now, one of you, if you're going to stay together, is going to have to bridge that gap. Are you going to ruin your life, or are they going to fix theirs? What's likely to happen is neither is going to happen, because you're not going to hopefully compromise on what you want. You're not going to convert to Islam, and that person is probably going to be a loser forever. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. And if you try to come down here or bring this person up, that's going to increase your stress. That's going to make it harder to get rid of tinnitus. So if you have a loser friend or friends, or even if you guys, when it comes to your brother, father, sister, I don't have a problem in that field. I like my parents and my brother. I really do. I wouldn't live with them, but I love them. But if you have loser friends or family who you didn't choose, you have no fucking obligation to ever talk to that person again. And I don't want to see the comments like, oh, family is everything. No, your fucking mental well-being is everything. Family comes second. Family comes second. You come first. And the moment you fucking realize that, you can go and get silence, or at least check that box for decreasing stress. This also includes things like jobs, okay? If you have a shit job, change it. I'm not saying quit. I'm not saying go into a casino and put it all on black, but use common sense. How much longer are you going to stay in that shit relationship? How much longer are you going to let your friends talk down to you? And don't try and change them. Don't try and change them. You will destroy the relationship even further. You'll just see how much of a narcissist they really are. And you'll probably make your tinnitus worse. Just leave. Just fucking leave. I'll tell you what your therapist should have told you in your 5 years of therapy. That person is bad for you. They're the problem. Leave. How easy was that? You should pay me the $600 an hour, whatever the hell you pay your therapist. I don't know how much they charge. Probably not that. All right. Have a great day. Tonight's is not for life. Yeah, fucking NTs.